speaking of blessings in disguise, so I guess it was a blessing in disguise that your dad, he had worked for the government. He was in the service. It was a bit of a curse because he was imprisoned and tortured, but it was also a blessing that you were also on the top of the list to go to the United States. You had more of a priority as refugees because he worked.
Exactly, Rudy.
With the Americans.
That is my dad's life theme. Because he went through hell and our family went through tremendous suffering. And I have to say, that is nothing compared to a lot of other people who gone through life. To this very day, I remember my dad always say, we look at what's happening in our nation, we look at the division, and we worry about a lot of things, the pandemic. But Dad always tell me, even when my dad was going through his quadruple bypass surgery, and I was in there praying with him, and he was opening up and talking to me, and all he said, Dad, all that suffering we went through, including the Vietnam War, even with the fall of Saigon, the communist takes over, the persecution that we went through religiously and politically, without all of that, we wouldn't be here today. He said, I was in prison all those years, but without those years in prison, our family wouldn't be in the United States today.
Exactly.
Because of those imprisons that I was able, through Senator McLean program, that I was able to, through that program, come here and we are united here. And now you're a priest. And you're serving so much of God's people. And Dad said, God always has his plan. Sometimes not like the way we think. But he said, if we trust him, he always bring good out of it. We have to always be grateful to God.
Yeah, because little did he know that while he was being beaten up in that camp, that him being beaten up was actually helping you get to the United States.
And himself and the rest of the family to come over.
So you finally got reunited with your brothers here in Houston.
Yes.
How long did it take before you were able to see them again? So a total of how many years since your brothers left and you finally reunited with them?
I left at the end of 1987. But
your brothers were how far ahead of you?
My brothers had left before that. They left, I believe they left maybe 6 months before that.
Okay.
So I came here in 90, May of 90. So it's about 5 years.
5 years since you hadn't seen your brothers in 5 years.
Yeah, 4 or 5 years, yeah.
Wow.
We finally united.
So you were a little kid, and then by the time you saw them, you were already into puberty at that point.
Well,
you're a little older.
No. So yeah, I was maybe 11, and when I saw them, I was 15 years old.
Okay.
Yeah, 11. So
a little over 4 years.
About 4 years, yeah.
Wow.
And same with my parents.
So how did they follow?
So in the late 80s, Senator McLean sponsored a program called, in Vietnam we call it HO, Humanitarian Operation.
Okay.
That any veteran that worked in the South government with the U.S. government, and because of their imprisonment, may through that program come to take residence and live in the United States. So my father applied for that program, and it went through really well, really fast.
And the Vietnamese government didn't try to stop him?
Because I think there is already an agreement with the United States by the
treaty
U.S.
or
government.
some sort. Okay.
So my dad applied for it, and sure enough, in 1991 he came with the rest of the family.
Wow. So your sister, who was just months old at the time, how old was she at that point?
Gosh, they're still little, because my parents have more. I have, like my baby sister, I never saw her.
Yes.
Because when I was left, my parents have more
kids.
Kids. So they're just small. I remember all these years I pray. We always pray together for reunion of the family, right?
Of course.
And we always pray the rosary. That's been the tradition in home. And finally, the day come. The note come that on this day and such, they will arrive at George Bush Airport, International Airport. Back in the old day, this is pre 911. You can go all the way to the
gate, yes.
to the gate to wait for them, right? So I remember that very clearly. That it was at night in it, and they, my uncle, my brothers. So they drove us to the airport. I was standing there waiting.
The anticipation.
My heart was pumping.
Wow.
In the old day, you don't have FaceTime. So you haven't seen their face in a long time except through pictures,
Yes,
right?
yes.
There was no internet like we do nowadays. So you couldn't send those digital image pictures. So you haven't really seen them except through
Yes.
those photos that you send in the letter.
Yes.
I was anxious. My heart was pumping. And finally, the time came. The time we've been praying for, we've been waiting for, and we haven't seen each other for years. In the older, you don't even talk on the phone because you go to the office. It costs a lot to talk on the phone. So the phone wasn't like today, cell phone, right? So
the long distance
you
calls,
haven't talked except for through mail, right?
Uh-huh.
My heart was pumping and pumping and pumping and pumping. And then people was leaving the airplane. And finally came mom and dad with their suitcases, the little baby in the arm, and all these little ones, like how ducks lining up and going. I remember they were so small.
Your other siblings coming along.
Coming out. They were all
I can
small
imagine the
along.
tears.
Oh gosh. So I just remember seeing them. I was so happy. I mean, I can't believe it was real. You literally have to pinch yourself.
Yeah.
Is this real? After all, here we are. Dad talking about tears. Dad went through hell in his life. The night when I left, Dad called me over and said, Dad told me, Dad, you're going to leave Vietnam by boat with your younger brother. I need you to be the strong one for your brother. And Dad said, you have to be strong in your faith. And life will be hard, but you have to be strong. You have to be strong. He said, you don't cry. He said, he told me this saying that a man rather die standing than kneeling, and you don't shed your tears. You lose your head, but you don't shed your tears.
Uh-huh.
The strength, And I don't see all my life. I remember up to that point, I haven't seen my dad cry yet.
Uh-huh.
And I kept his word. I stayed very strong through those years. I don't cry. I stay strong. I don't cry. All that things, I don't. But that day, when my dad walked out and he finally saw us, for the first time in my life, I saw tears rolling down his cheek. It was a moment of grace, a moment of joy. And I remember later I asked him, why? What happened there? You told me not to cry. And Dad said that it was because I was so happy. I was so happy that, wow, we are finally back together again.
Because he didn't know if he'd see you alive ever again.
That's right.
Sending out your two older brothers.
That's right.
And then you and your younger brother not knowing at such a young age.
Yeah. And through all of that, there we were. By the grace of God, we were finally together again in this new world. And gosh, I'll never forget that. It was such a moment of joy.
Do you remember the first time you said a rosary together as a family again?
Absolutely. That very night, came back to the house. We prayed a rosary. And we prayed a rosary together every night. To this day, whenever we get together at his house, my parents' house on Sunday, we still pray the rosary together. My dad and mom and dad still pray the rosary together every day. Every day. Yeah. That's our life, our strength. Faith carry us through.